So, I have been living in Oregon for almost 2 years now. Since then, I have explored Tillamook National Forest, Multnomah Falls, beaches like Manzanita, which I think is my favorite beach so far. It's low key and the town's really cute. I've gone to Seaside, Lincoln City, and Cannon Beach. I've also explored the trails of Cooper Mountain, which is a great little spot to go to for a mid-week nature retreat. It's not too intensive. I also have gone to the Tualatin Nature Reserve several times. It's just very peaceful there. It's shady, it's a good place to go if it's really hot out. There's a lot of cool just nature things you could witness, a lot of birds, a lot of cool things you can learn about. They even have classes for kids if you do have kids. I have gone to Shevlin Park in Bend, Oregon, which was a really cool place to go to. And I don't know if it was like a creek or like a little river stream. I don't know, but I found a really cool water spot. That was really nice. But be warned, if you do go to Bend, Oregon, the endless amount of roundabouts will totally like blow your mind, and I'd never seen anything like that. I mean, I think when I first hit like my big section of roundabouts, I was like, okay, that was two, and okay, that's another, and it just goes on and on. And then you find yourself on a normal road and you're like relieved. But I'm decent when it comes to roundabouts, but I'm also so aware that so many people aren't. So I think that's what makes me nervous sometimes when I'm on them. But Bend is a really cool city. They also have a really nice public library for anybody wanting to just, I don't know, I like to go into random libraries, random grocery stores, and just walk around. It's just a thing I like to do. But Shevlin Park was cool. I will say I've also gone to Hoyt Arboretum, which is a really cool place to go to. Again, it's not really like an intensive hiking area, but they have really cool trails that kind of intersect and cool places you can just sit out and lounge and like be with a group of people if you want to. So that's really cool. I've done a lot of beautiful drives throughout the coast and a lot of landscapes throughout Southeast Oregon, which is really neat too. I mean, honestly, nature-wise, I've fallen in love with Oregon. Socially, I think Oregon piggybacks on the fact that Portland is a progressive, diverse social hub, because outside of the Portland area, the further you go out, the more I feel like I'm back in West Virginia or some random town in the outskirts of Pennsylvania or something. I mean, it's not what you expect. And even though there's a lot of different ethnicities in Oregon and a lot of different cultural like experiences you can have, it's not blended. You get that subset segregation that you would get if you went to like Little China and Little Italy or someplace. It's a lot of that, and I get it. Different cultures like to have their communities, but if you think about it, as far as like America, being this melting pot of cultures and races and languages, it's weird for 2022, and I think it says a lot about where America's still at. But like I said, it's just kind of weird, but it's not bad. And I don't think it's like, I don't encounter a lot of hick country people. It's more so like conservative, traditional country people. And I guess there's a decent amount of Mormons out here too, which, fascinated me. There's just a lot of, Oregon's just a really interesting state socially. Let's see. I haven't engaged in much of Oregon's nightlife because I've been so focused on my creative projects, and I work a customer service job, so I don't have normal weekends. And then I work with a lot of people that I'm friends with, so our schedules never coincide. And then when I do have my weekend, because I deal with like 120 plus people a day, I have no social energy sometimes, and I'm so drained. And I just need to recharge and do my self-care routines. So yeah, I haven't gone out that much. And also there was C19, and I think festivities and things are just steadily getting back to normal. But yeah, I do plan. I'm slowly getting better about engaging socially on my weekend, and I kind of been making myself do it even when I'm a little tired, just so I can like rebuild that habit. Because, before I had like an administrative job. And I think just from like sitting in an office and a desk, I had more physical energy. So having that extra physical energy allowed me to at least physically be present for friends and social engagements. Even if I didn't have as much social energy to extend, it was just great to still be able to get a little social time and then also have my alone time still. But I'm rebuilding that. It'll get back to normal, or some new degree of normal, I guess. So I can't speak to much of Oregon's food scene, and that's mainly due to the fact that I really like to cook, and I also budgeting. And then also I'm celiac, so if you're celiac or gluten intolerant, eating out really changes for you. And that's like the first thing you'll notice once you like have to give up gluten and all that stuff. I mean, if I go out to like Asian cuisine, I'm pretty okay. I can do Mexican food, but the issue with that is that I'm often tempted to eat cheese, and for me, eating out, there's just a lot of temptation, because I remember the fact that I went 26 years of my life still eating gluten and not knowing that, I was damaging my intestines and my colon. I just thought I had constipation, but it was a lot more happening than that. So yeah, the temptation, I still feel it sometimes, and there's like a part of me that's like, well, maybe it won't be too bad, maybe the reaction won't be too crazy, but yeah, it's not good. So I do avoid eating out if I can. I'm usually safe with Asian cuisine, and there are gluten-free places to eat in Oregon. There's vegan places too that have a lot of more gluten-free options, but a lot of times when I go to those places, I have like this mentality like, oh, I could have made this at home, and it could have been warmer, or I could have put this on it or that. I'm just that kind of person, so why even bring that annoying energy to someone's establishment? So despite the fact that I have not gotten into Oregon's food scene, I will say that I am officially a produce snob. And I've even dated one farmer since living here, and that was an interesting experience. But yeah, I'm a produce snob. So I've gotten to eat a wide variety of apples and grapes and berries that I never had access to living in Arizona. And then, I didn't really, because I wasn't involved in the grocery shopping when I was growing up in West Virginia, so I didn't really know what their real produce variety is like. But I will say I haven't tried like a lot of the things I've gone to eat here. So my food palette has definitely expanded, and I have a new appreciation for produce as well. But despite all of the amazing greenery, naturescapes, and the produce I've gotten to eat, my favorite thing about Oregon, above all else, is the gluten-free bread. And before we get into this, I want to say welcome back, Sleepyheads, to another episode of Sleepy Aliens Perspective. I am your host, Ashley. Now, I know what you're thinking. This bitch is about to make an entire episode about gluten-free bread. I thought this was about Oregon travel. But this is really important, and yes, I'm about to do that. And I'm not ashamed. But be sure to like this video so the algorithm will like me. Subscribe and share. Help me build my audience. Help me grow my content. And help me survive as a content creator as well, because it is really hard to build subscribers on YouTube right now. And as a Black YouTuber, there's just so much paranoia. It's like, is the algorithm, does it not like me? What's happening? Am I am I being suppressed? You just don't know. So please be sure to give me some support and help me grow. I do appreciate it. I am deserving, and it is a good decision because I make good content. I have good things to say. And I am evolving my editing approach to these videos, and I'm experimenting still. And yeah, I think my subject nature is kind of all over the place still, but that's just me in general. Like, I do a lot of different art forms. Like, I'm just a Renaissance person in that way, where it just feeds my energy. I don't know, I can't explain it fully, but I think you'll probably understand it to some degree. But let's get into this. So when I lived in Arizona, the best quality gluten-free bread available was Red Canyon. Now, don't get me wrong, Red Canyon is decent, but the quality isn't amazing. While Red Canyon has good color, decent bagels, it lacks firmness, it lacks taste, you know? However, I will say that Red Canyon is absolutely a step up from the crumbly king that is Udi's. And I'm getting all heated when I say this too, because I'm like, where do we start with this company? You know, how do I describe it? Let me see. It crumbles. It's small. The rolls aren't soft at all. It's Udi's. It's Udi's. Don't expect good taste. Watch your money go to waste. It's Udi's. I think that describes it really well, and sometimes singing helps me explain things better. But I do like coming up with random jingles. But Udi's has survived in the market because they were one of the first widespread gluten-free breads available on the market. But now that Udi's has some competition, their quality fuckery is on full display. And if they want to compete in the gluten-free market, and if they want to survive, I think they'll have to upgrade those recipes. And the next year, or year or two from now. And I think, truthfully, they need a full revamp. They really need people to know that it's going to be worth the money, and they've worked on enhancing ingredients and flavor. Like, yeah, it's necessary, because Udi's to me is the bread equivalent of diet mac and cheese, which makes you ask yourself, how is this still on the market? How are they still making money? How are people buying and consuming this? But when I lived in Arizona and I found out I was celiac, I was in my mid-20s. And when I tell you, I went into like a deep state of mourning from like the food and the lifestyle changes and not knowing like how to feed myself, and then having to like slowly invest in trying different gluten-free products. It was depressing. So I pretty much stopped eating sandwiches and hot dogs, which I didn't eat hot dogs all the time, but it's nice to have a hot dog, a few times a year. And burgers, but I didn't even have any access to good sandwich bread or burger bread, which are versatile breads. That was depressing, and just buying gluten-free bread, I couldn't always do it because it's undersized, overpriced, and underwhelming. I mean, average price for gluten-free bread is around $6. And I'm talking, that's just average price. And if you see gluten-free bread, the loaves are smaller than regular bread because it's harder to maintain the moisture and the consistency that you would see with normal, non-gluten-free loaves of bread. And that is really depressing as well. And I'll be honest, if you hear me and I'm saying, oh, I'm going to have like sandwiches for dinner, just know that I'm going to have technically 2 sandwiches because the bread is smaller, and I still I never feel satisfied if I just have like one regular gluten-free sandwich. And if you get like gluten-free burger buns or hot dog buns, you get like 4 buns to a pack, and you're paying on average $6+. And that depends on what brand you're getting. So dealing with that price hike and the fact that you're not getting as much when you buy in quantity or in size, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's worth it. So at the time, it was just way easier to cut that stuff out of my diet. But yeah, Udi's needs really to be called out, and I would love to hear some people's thoughts on Udi's and their experience just trying different gluten-free breads. So do feel free to leave a comment below and let's have a conversation about it. But the best part, about Oregon was the fact that I could get fresh bread that wasn't frozen. Now, in some stores, you can get Red Canyon that's not frozen, but that is usually in more health food-based stores. You won't typically find that in your Safeway or Kroger's. And Walmart does have their gluten-free section is just so sad looking, but economically I'm grateful for it because, you do pay less for pasta noodles and bread there and some popular gluten-free food items. So that is a good thing. But the bread though, it's not something that I'm not let me go to Walmart and buy my gluten-free bread. No. But the best thing about getting gluten-free bread in Oregon is I can get it off the shelf. I don't have to worry about thawing anything out, losing that sense of freshness and texture. You just have no idea how special that is. So there are 2 amazing Oregon-based gluten-free bread companies. There is New Cascadia Traditional and Fran's Gluten-Free Bread. Now, in Fran's Gluten-Free Bread, outside of their gluten-free bread options is just Fran's Bakery, and they offer regular bread and organic bread as well. So, they're a larger company and they have, more widespread distribution than New Cascadia Traditional. But I almost didn't want to make this video because, quality does change when quantity increases in companies. And I was like, what if they blow up and what if things change? But, fuck it. I think these companies deserve their props. They have given me back sandwiches, burgers, Philly cheesesteaks, dippable dinner rolls, for my soups, and garlic bread and morning toast and bagels with real textures, and I don't know, it's just been refreshing and I'm super grateful to these companies, which is why I wanted to make this video. Yes, nobody is sponsoring me, but I think these companies deserve their shout out. But firstly, let's talk about New Cascadia Traditional. So this company was started by husband and wife, Chris Gumke and Teresa Atkins. So Chris Gumke, he is gluten intolerant and he didn't always know about that. So when he discovered it and he had to cut out gluten products from his diet, he of course longed for pastries and good tasting breads that he got to eat before. So instead of just wallowing in that pity, he decided to do something about it and he started baking. Officially in 2007, Chris and Teresa started selling their gluten-free products in the Portland Farmers Market. So that's really awesome. There's a lot of Portland-based food companies who start out at the Portland Farmers Market or just in farmers markets in general. And then from there, they go like a fan base. And then, they have the interest of investors or however, whether it's a business loan. I don't know. That's just a good route to go if you're trying to break into the food market in some way. But eventually, Chris and Teresa opened up a cafe store and a production facility that allowed them to offer their breads in local grocery stores throughout the Portland metro area, different restaurants, and other cafes. So if you do visit their cafe, you can find not only freshly baked breads, but brewed coffee as well, and teas, and donuts, and cupcakes, and cookies, savory and sweet bagels, and even scones, which is just amazing. When you think about the fact, if you're someone who, is gluten-free or gluten intolerant, you have to think about it. How often do you get a fresh donut? It's not very often, but it's amazing. It's fucking awesome. But please be warned, if you go to their cafe, the breads and the pastries there are first come, first serve, so you kind of have to get there really early to get the good stuff. So some of New Cascadia Traditional's popular bread items include their rustic Italian loaves, which are awesome, and they're a little bit smaller. Like I said, with these gluten-free breads, the loaves are going to be a little bit smaller, but it's totally worth it. And they have baguettes as well, which are great. Burger buns, which I don't like to use their burger buns for burgers. I think just growing up and, having my fast food experiences, I got so used to like soft and like warm, like kind of melt in your mouth burger buns. And that's just a texture I prefer. I like soft textured things. But I like using their burger buns for sandwiches. And the thing about New Cascadia Traditional is that their breads have more of like a home and hearth, like out of the wood oven kind of vibe. Like they're good. It's a bit like the texture is, it's not rough, but it has like that crunch effect and that good toast effect that you can get. And so if you are a fan of that, I think New Cascadia is all for you. But not all of their breads are like that. Like they make challah, and that bread is really soft and it's pretty good too. And I like to make a nice like dill dip with the Forger sour cream, which is a dairy-free sour cream. They also have raisin bread, which is really good too. And they have everything bagels and cinnamon raisin bagels as well. And their bagels you will not be able to tell the difference between, a regular bagel and a gluten-free bagel. The textures are really similar. So I think they've really accomplished something amazing there. They also have amazing hoagie rolls, which you can, make really good sub sandwiches with, or, more meat sandwiches. But you could also just cut them up in slices and slightly toast them and butter them, and they're great for soups and dipping as well. I think you'll just hear me say that a lot because I love soups, salads, and sandwiches. Like, if I could just live off of those. If that's all I had, option-wise to eat every day, I'd be absolutely fine with that. But they also have good holiday dinner rolls, which are great for soups and dipping. But I discovered a happy accident of putting hummus with those as well, and it tastes really good. So if you were to make like a nice dip, or get you a nice mayo or something, and some hummus and some red onion, and you can put some cherry tomatoes on there. Oh, it's so good. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. But yeah, New Cascadia Traditional is an awesome company. They have a beautiful story, and I just wish them all the success, growth, and abundance because they absolutely deserve it. But I have to say, my favorite bread company is the Franz gluten-free bread because their texture is a bit softer, melt in your mouth, so it just meets my palate style a little bit more. But it doesn't make them better than the New Cascadia. It's just my favorite texture-wise out of the two. But either way, you can get a really great experience with both bread companies. So let's get into Franz gluten-free bread. And like I said before, Franz gluten-free bread is like a subsection of Franz Bakery, which has normal bread items that are sold all throughout Oregon and Washington. So their distribution is much wider, and as far as company size, they're pretty huge, and I think they've even expanded to California, and I'll have to look into that again. But yeah, so Franz Bakery launched their gluten-free products in 2012. However, the company actually started in 1906 when brothers Engelbert, Joseph, and Ignace purchased the Ann Arbor Bakery in Oregon.
Soon after that, they purchased the United States Bakery from their uncle, which is actually where Engelbert started working once he immigrated to the United States.
But in 1920, the Franz brothers officially changed the company name to Franz Bakery. Now, as time went on, Franz Bakery began buying out like cookie companies. They bought out a sourdough bread company that was based in Seattle. And so they basically started slowly adding different products to their line that way, which is really smart business savvy wise. I mean, I like that. And it wasn't like the mean sort of big conglomerate that takes out the small man, you know. I think they were really finding good companies that they had respect for, and they thought, hey, this is a good way to build our product line, you know. So I thought that was really cool. In 2006, this is really fascinating, Franz Bakery made history, Guinness World history, by producing the longest hot dog bun of 104 feet. Now that is the most random company fact and company accomplishment I've ever come across, but I think that's pretty awesome in its own regard. And I bet there's a whole story to that. Maybe one day I'll actually get to interview somebody from there. I saw on their website that they have an employee that's been working there for 60 years. And you imagine being that loyal to a company. That's amazing, right? It's just profound. So let's get into their bread selection. Franz offers 3 types of sandwich breads. There's their 7 grain, which is my favorite, and they're good for any kind of sandwich but a PB&J or morning toast with jam. They also have Mountain White, which that name triggers me because I grew up in West Virginia. But regardless, the Mountain White is good for grilled cheese, morning toast, plain or buttered or jammed. It goes good with eggs too. And it's also really good for PB&Js and turkey sandwiches. And also TLTs, which is turkey, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. But yeah, and I say turkey bacon because I don't eat that much pork. And I don't eat a lot of heavy meats. Like, I'll have like my special like beef treats that I do. But outside of that, I'll stick to like turkey and chicken if I am gonna have meat. And then I do eat a lot of seafood as well. But if you don't know this, that pork requires the most enzymes to be digested as far as meats go in your body. So that's why if you don't eat a lot of red meats or red pork and you like go for pork one night, those ribs just look too good or something, and you're like, fuck, my stomach hurts, you know, at least get some digestive enzymes or some papaya enzymes, and that could like help you process that a bit better. But that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, can we make TLTs a thing? Because I love it. I love it. And I can't remember what turkey bacon I get. I just become such a food snob working at the grocery store that I'm at. Because I have a discount, I get to try like a lot of good quality items. So it's just really expanded my palate, and I'm super grateful. Super grateful. But yeah, the Great Seed sandwich bread is really good for veggie sandwiches. So I'm talking like sauteed onions and mushrooms and a really nice sauce. And then like if you get some mixed spring lettuce or something, or I'd say go for spring lettuce because spinach really takes over. But I like to go for a nice spring mix salad and then, you know, put some dressing on that, get some cucumbers, toast that baby up, and you got a pretty good veggie sandwich there. But in addition to that, Franz also has really good cinnamon, raisin, and blueberry bread. Both are really awesome and can go good with some jam mixed with Kyle cream cheese. And what I like to do with their cream cheese as far as like morning sweetbreads, and I do intend to try this with like full cake icing in the future, but I like to get Cocoa Whip, and that can be like any brand of Cocoa Whip, but I do get this So Delicious because there's not that much sugar in it. And if you mix that with the Kyle cream cheese, you'll find that you get a Philadelphia cream cheese kind of texture, and the Cocoa Whip actually sweetens it to a really nice degree without being overwhelming. So it would be good if you made like plain pound cake, or I've never had gluten-free angel food cake, but you know, if you were to do something like that, it would be perfect. Or if you just want to do that in general and you're dairy-free, that is a great idea for you. It is kind of annoying. Kaido cream cheese is expensive, but they have that power because there's not a lot of good dairy-free cream cheeses on the market right now. And their cream cheese is almond milk based, and I feel like they might mix coconut cream in there, but I'll have to double check. But I know for sure it's almond milk based, but it is really good. And they do have a chive flavor too. I'm excited to see how they like add more to their line, and hopefully eventually they'll be able to cut down their price. But yeah, with inflation, it's like, ooh, bite a tongue. This is a special treat. But I do a lot of different things with that cream cheese. I will add it to red tomato pasta sauces. Right now, I am boiling potatoes because I'm going to be having some TLTs tonight. And I'm taking the Kaiho cream cheese, and I've sauteed some onions and garlic, and I'm going to be making a nice potato soup, and I'm going to use a little chicken stock, a little beef stock as well, and I'm going to use some cashew milk just to smooth out the texture a little bit too. But yeah, we're having TLTs and some homemade potato soup. And I'm using yellow potatoes. I should state that because rustic potatoes are not good for like soup. You gotta go with softer base potatoes. But anyways, enough about that and my dinner tonight. But next up, I want to talk about France's hamburger buns. They're gluten-free hamburger buns. So when you see them in the package, they just look like kind of clumps, and you have to cut them. And what I like to do, I have a whole process for them because they are worth it. And they're soft, and you can do a lot of different things with it. I make garlic bread. I can make heartier sandwiches that the regular sandwich breads can't really handle. I've made like little mini pizzas when I have my cheese cheat days. Let's see, I've used it for morning toast. I'm actually going to be experimenting soon and making French toast with it, so I'm really excited about that. But as far as how I cook it is that I slice it and I butter it, and I only use real regular butter if I am like doing like a baked good. But outside of that, I just use oat milk butter or some other alternative butter. So I butter both of the sides of the bread and I toast them in the oven for about 2 to 3 minutes. Because I don't like super crunchy bread. I like it kind of soft and melty and buttery. And so the thing about the way the bread buns plump up, what you can do is like, once it's been like in there for a minute or two, you can take a spatula and press the bread down. And so that'll give it the normal look of a burger bun. And you know, once you toast it a little bit, you'll have a really nice texture as well. So that's just my fun little tip for that. But I love their hamburger buns. There's just so many things you can do with it. The hot dog buns are awesome. There was a period of time where the hot dog buns had too much bread on them, and it was really hard to like get to the meat or whatever you had in the hot dog buns. But they have since corrected that, and the hot dog buns are like regular size, and you don't have to do all like the toasting that you do with the hamburger buns, you know, but the hot dog buns are really good, and I made cool like meat sandwiches with them, steak sandwiches. I've definitely made garlic bread. I love pasta, so I do make garlic bread. It's like one of my favorite like cheat day like dishes to make. But yeah, that's a really good idea for that. Let's see, what else was I gonna say about their hot dog buns? I can't remember, but yeah, hot dog buns are awesome. Oh, meatball subs. I do plan to have a meatball sub day soon. The only thing is like I end up using my cheese cheat day for something else. Like I just have to be very smart about like when I constipate myself and intentionally break out my skin, right? So I've like skipped over my meatball sub days so many times because I'll get like a craving for a cauliflower pizza Or like I want to make like mozzarella bread and get some part skim mozzarella cheese to put on there too. But that's just something to keep in mind. So my absolute favorite thing from Fran's Gluten-Free Bakery is their fucking spectacular holiday dinner rolls. And I mean, these rolls are like, you can't even tell the difference between like regular holiday dinner rolls. They're amazing. And when I first discovered them, I ate soup like every day back to back. And I would just go through a whole pack of the rolls, and I think you get like 6 rolls in a pack, but oh, they're so good. And a thing I like to do with soup, especially if I don't feel like making it homemade, but I'll go to Safeway or something and I'll get a creamy tomato, and then I'll mix that with a potato soup and a clam chowder soup, and then I'll mix them all together, which is, I know it sounds weird, but it tastes really good. So if you're open to it, please try it because it's totally worth it. And I started mixing soup when I was in college because sometimes I would go to the dining hall and the soups at the soup bar all were just like kind of blah alone. But when I mixed them, they were like 10 times better. So it's just a fun thing I do now, and I don't even call it fun. It's just more natural for me at this point. I also do the same thing with teas, I think that's really fun to experiment with mixing different teas together. But I will say lastly that Fran's has amazing bagels, and I've never been like a huge bagel person, so when I get the bagels, of course I use them to dip soup when I can't get my hands on their dinner rolls, which are hard to find in stores, but as I'll say in a little bit, you'll see where I get them, but yeah, I like the bagels. They do have really great texture. They are very similar to regular bagels, which is awesome. Just a props to New Cascadia and Fran's for like really capturing these normative textures that you would get from, regular bread. That is like why I praise these companies. Now, I will say sadly, unlike New Cascadia or traditional, Fran's has yet to expand into gluten-free desserts. I'm really hoping that changes in the very near future. I think they could really make some money for themselves and like step up their gluten-free game by like getting to the gluten-free pies, because there's so much room in the market right now. And right now, a lot of pastry shops, gluten-free ones, are getting away with like crazy ass prices because there's not a lot of gluten-free pie companies out there. And again, yes, I know I can make this shit myself, but it's just easier to not have to overwhelm myself with the responsibility of eating a whole something. So if I could start getting like a half of a gluten-free pie, like I'd be really happy. I'd be so happy. But again, since Fran's is a bigger company than New Cascadia, they don't have like a cafe storefront or anything like that, but they do have a really cool outlet store, and where you can buy the bread at discounted prices. And I will say, I don't know what qualifies the bread to be outlet status, but to me the quality is the same and it's cheaper. And the best part is that you can get a punch card if you go to the outlet store. And it's so easy because you get a punch for like I think it's like every couple loaves that you buy or every couple bags of bread. So literally you can go there in one day and fill up your punch card and then walk out with 2 extra free bags of bread. So yes, of course I have a punch card. And the good thing about Fran's is that they have really awesome vacuum sealed bags. So storing the bread in your refrigerator, it'll last a long time. Now, earlier this year, they did have some issues with their facility where they got a new vacuum seal contraption. I don't know what it's actually really called, but basically, as it was pulling the air out before the bag was sealed, it was glitching by puffing a little air in. So a lot of breads were hitting the shelves with mold in them. And when I went to the outlet store, I asked the lady about it, and she explained what was happening. And so if you did experience that, now you understand why. And if you ever do experience that, because I think it does glitch from time to time, so you'll also know why. But I think that's a really good lesson. Don't be afraid to ask questions, people. You know, some people don't want to tell the truth, but sometimes you get an honest and clear answer, and it's really empowering when you feed your curiosity, right? But so now that I have talked about gluten-free bread for 20 plus minutes, I will say I'm hungry and I'm looking forward to cold weather and creamy bowls of soup. And I will be talking more about gluten-free foods because I think there's just so much to discuss in the market, and because there's so much room for, you know, competition and growth in the market, there are a lot of things to be calling out at this point. A lot of companies getting away with overpricing despite the fact that they're not using, you know, exotic or hard to procure ingredients, you know. But the fact that there's less competition gives them room to hike up that price and make a ton of money. I mean, right now, based on Statista, the gluten-free food market in 2020, or maybe it was 2022, I'll have to check which year it was based off of, but they were ranked at like $6.1 billion. Like, that market is just growing, you know? And so if you're out there and, you know, you want to get into the food market, the gluten-free food market is the way to go. And if you are gluten-free and celiac, you have that perspective and that palate and that opinion to really know what could work and can work. So that's just something to keep in mind. But like I said, I will be reviewing some other gluten-free foods and doing some upcoming episodes about that stuff. But I hope this video has given celiacs and gluten intolerant people something to look forward to when you come to Oregon. And if you don't live in Oregon, you know, please, if you have good gluten-free bread companies or pastry companies in your state or city, leave something in the comment section, because I love to travel for food. And I would love to know like what to look forward to in different states and like where to go. Because again, I think this level of communication isn't prevalent in the gluten-free community, and I think we can really establish that. And that's something I like to do on this channel in conjunction with all of the random spiritual wellness and you know, social issue content that I like to discuss. But whatever, you know, I like it that way. But be sure to, again, like this video so that the algorithm will like me and show your support for my content. Especially, you know, if you can't donate to this channel, a like is a really powerful and easy way to energetically donate. Be sure to subscribe so you can get notified on my new videos, and share this video as well, because I'm sure there's some people out there who would love to get some tips about the gluten-free breads in Oregon and just some other tips that I discussed in this video. Lastly, I want to share my tip for growing an ass. But. So this requires at least 2 servings of buttered bread each week, 1 good sweet pastry, green smoothies. And when I say green smoothies, I mean kale. You know, kale is more powerful nutrition-wise than spinach. So yeah, green smoothies. But also you have to do at least 20 squats a week, 150 sit-ups, and an hour of cardio as well. And I swear to you, you will have a really nice and shapely butt. And I am basing this off the fact that this is how I've maintained my toned but also curvy figure throughout the years as well. And I'm telling you, I intentionally eat pastries each week to maintain that, because I've done the alkaline diet before and I lost so much weight. And for me, because I'm like fairly petite, when I lose weight, it looks very dramatic and drastic. So people literally thought I was like starving myself, and it's like, no, I've just been doing the alkaline diet. I've just been eating more vegetables and like no sugar. But sugar is just something, one, of course I'm addicted to it because I grew up in the 90s and I got it at school, I got it at home, I got it everywhere I went. And they put it in every food item that I was being presented, you know? But also too, it's just like, I have a lot of love and respect for pastries, and it's just something I know I can't ever fully live without. So until I get, diagnosed with some disease that really says no more sugar. And technically, I do have a joint disease that would prompt me to not eat sugar, but I limit my sugar intake. I really have like my big like sugar nights on my cheat day on my weekend. So, I'm balanced in that sense. But yeah, follow my little tips if you want to grow a good butt. But other than that, have a good night, sleepyheads. Thanks for your support, and I will see you next time.